Amazing Spider-Man, our first King in Black tie-in for the show. I think we only have two. This will be nice and short and sweet, but I will say that this Spider-Man story has more heart and more like real Peter Parker identity than the current Amazing Spider-Man run by Nick Spencer. And I mean that. I mean every bit of that. I don't mean that in a spite. I'm just saying, like, when I read this book, this is Spider-Man. This sounds like Peter Parker. He doesn't sound like Peter Parker in Spencer's run. He sounds like a completely different character. And in this book, this feels like Spider-Man. Lou, the Spider-Man story was so much better than Spidey on the stage. Yeah, Lou, I totally agree. Like, this was a Spider-Man story, and so we get kind of, I don't want to say back to the basics, but you know, Spidey or Peter is still kind of dealing with some pretty heavy feelings. He feels responsible, and I think he kind of is. He brought the symbiote to Earth, you know, so it's kind of his. It's kind of is his fault that it's there, and you know why Venom exists, and you know he's not the reason why Null exists, but he is the reason why it's there on Earth, and so this is kind of him getting through that idea that he may be responsible for this, and the thing that I didn't expect I'd like in this book, it's not going to make me want to pick up the book, but Reptile, I think his name is, he's in this book, and he kind of kicks Peter back into gear and like reminds him of who he is. So Spidey's learning from a younger, you know, Avenger, essentially young Avenger. No, this was a one shot, Lou. He basically finds out again, like remembers who he is, remembers the principles he stands up for. And so in this book, it's not consequential to the King in Black storyline. I was kind of hoping we'd get a little bit more tie into the actual book, but that's okay. It's not that. But it's basically Spidey remembering what values he fights for, and Reptile Boy kind of reminds him of that. And I know nothing about Reptile. But you know, he shines in this book, and then there's a 3 or 4 page mini story in the back of like the perspective from Reptile, and realizing like hero work is hard. It's a nonstop grind. You know, you're not. It's not just like save one person and go. Like when these kinds of events happen, like you have to continue. Even if you're just dead inside, you have to keep going. Lou, yeah, I read it and enjoyed it. Just wasn't sure if this was a new run. I wish it was a new run because God, Nick Spencer's Spidey is just so bad.
Jed McKay's been doing good stuff too. I ran out of time this week. You know, usually Thursday's actually my day that I get to crunch down if I have a couple days. So I missed an extra day. So
well, you can read it tomorrow. It's a good book. It's not like jaw dropping, but it reminds you of what Spidey can be, because Nick Spencer's run is just, and I hate saying this, we say this every time, like, I am not one to shit on somebody's work, but it's time to get a new writer on Amazing Spider-Man. Like, Spencer needs to like take a break and be assigned something else, and I'm sure he'll do great on it, but like this is just so much better. And I said the same thing about Nonstop Spider-Man. Like, I enjoyed that book too, and it makes me jealous that neither one of those stories are the actual story for Amazing Spider-Man.
You're telling me you're not excited that you get 4 Nick Spencer issues of Spider-Man in June?
You see me looking at the camera right
now? Oops. Sorry.
Anyway, I enjoyed this. It's not my favorite King in Black tie-in, but it was good. I mean, it wasn't what I was expecting, but it definitely was a good book. So I'm glad I picked it up. I'm glad I have it in my collection, and just fingers crossed that, again, I hate poo-pooing on it, but let's just hold on, let me fix my camera. There we go. Let's just get a new writer on this. If anything, this is just telling me we need a new writer on Amazing Spider-Man, and let it be Johnny Cates. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.